started with one night. She didn't come home. I sat there like a fool, scrolling through my phone, watching the clock tick past midnight. 1 a.m., 2 a.m. No texts, no calls, just silence. Katie had gone to a party. One of those just need to blow off some steam nights. Fine, whatever. But by 3 a.m., my mind was racing. You know that feeling when something's wrong, but you don't want to admit it because if you do, then it becomes real? Yeah, that was me. I told myself she was probably with her friends. Maybe she'd had too much to drink, and they were just looking out for her. That's what good friends do, right? But something in my gut told me that wasn't the case. I tried calling her straight to voicemail. At 3:45 a.m., I shot her a text. "Katie, where are you?" Left on read. The clock kept moving forward, but the minutes felt heavier, like they were dragging me down with them. My head started playing tricks on me. Flashes of her laughing with some stranger, images I didn't want to believe, but couldn't shake. When the sun finally crept through the blinds, the anger hit me. I wasn't just worried anymore. I was pissed. She thought she could just stay out all night without a word. Like I didn't exist? She waltzed out the door in her little black dress, saying she needed a break, that she was tired of putting up with my issues. That stung. My issues. Let me translate for you. She meant my performance issues, which apparently had become the defining trait of our marriage. One time, just once, things didn't work in bed, and suddenly I was the problem. She never let me forget it, throwing little jabs like, "Maybe you're not feeling it." But of course, she never wanted to talk about it. No, Katie was above communication. She'd just put on her fake smile, go out with her friends, and act like nothing was wrong. By the time 9 a.m. rolled around, I was done waiting. I grabbed my keys and left the house. I wasn't going to sit there like an idiot anymore. I had a buddy, Dave, who lived near the area where I knew the party was happening. On a whim, I called him up. He answered groggy, but awake. "Hey man, did Katie crash at your place last night? She hasn't come home." There was a pause, a long one. I could hear him shifting, the wheels turning in his head. "Nah man, I haven't seen her. I thought you guys were together." That was it. That's when I knew. There was no more pretending, no more excuses. Something was going on, and I was about to find out exactly what. By noon, I had checked her location on our shared app. She'd forgotten to turn it off. Amateur move. She wasn't with friends. She wasn't at any after-party. No, she was in some random apartment complex on the other side of town, far away from where she was supposed to be. My hands were shaking when I pulled up outside the building. I didn't even have a plan. What was I going to do? March up there and confront her? Call her out on the spot? Honestly, I didn't know, but the anger kept me going. I felt like I was on autopilot, driven by this raw need to know the truth. When I finally saw her walk out around 12:30, it all came crashing down. She was wearing the same black dress, her hair disheveled, makeup smudged. She looked guilty. No, she looked satisfied, like someone who just had a night they won't forget. And the worst part? She wasn't alone. Some guy, a tall, clean-cut douchebag, was right behind her, zipping up his jacket, looking like he owned the world. They didn't even notice me parked across the street. Katie smiled up at him, that same smile she used to give me, and he kissed her, right there in broad daylight. I froze. My chest tightened. There was a part of me that wanted to storm over, tear this guy apart, scream at her until my throat bled. But I didn't. I just sat there, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. I watched her get in his car and drive off. Just like that. I went home in a daze, my brain spinning in every direction. Questions, anger, humiliation, they all hit me at once. How long had this been going on? Did she think I wouldn't notice? Was this her idea of dealing with our problems? When I got back, I didn't text her, didn't call her. I ghosted her, let her wonder where I was for a change. By the time evening rolled around, my phone buzzed. "Katie." A flurry of texts poured in. "Hey, where are you? Are you okay?" Then, "Babe, I'm sorry. I should have come home last night. Please, just talk to me." I didn't respond. I sat there, staring at her messages, feeling the weight of every lie she told me. Every excuse, every half-truth, every time she made me feel like the broken one. And now she was playing the victim, acting like she'd just gotten lost in the moment. By the next morning, she showed up at the house in tears, pounding on the door, begging me to let her explain. That's when I decided this wasn't going to end quietly. Katie was at the door, mascara streaked down her cheeks, looking like she'd spent hours crying. She pounded on it again, her voice shaking as she called my name. "Ethan, please, just open the door. Let me explain." Explain? Was there really anything left to explain? I wasn't ready to deal with her yet, but I was also done hiding behind walls. I opened the door, just a crack at first, enough to see her standing there in the same black dress she'd left in. The same one I saw her wearing when she walked out of that guy's apartment. Seeing her like that, all disheveled and pathetic, didn't make me feel sorry for her. It made me furious. "Explain what?" I asked coldly, stepping aside to let her in. She flinched at my tone but walked past me, wiping her eyes. She stood in the living room, wringing her hands like some nervous schoolgirl. But there was no pity left in me. Not after what I saw. Not after that kiss. "Ethan, it's not what you think," she started, her voice trembling. I almost laughed at how cliché she sounded. I shut the door behind her and leaned against it, crossing my arms, waiting for her to drop whatever excuse she thought would fix this. "Not what I think," I repeated, my voice low. "So you didn't spend the night with some random guy, Katie? Because I'm pretty sure I watched you leave his apartment this morning. Pretty sure I saw him kiss you right before you got in his car. But please enlighten me. Tell me what I think happened, because I'm dying to hear it." She opened her mouth, but no words came out at first. Her eyes widened in shock. She clearly hadn't expected me to know. "Ethan," she started, stepping closer. I was drunk, okay? I wasn't thinking straight, it just happened. I didn't mean for it to go this far." I scoffed. "Drunk? That was her excuse? You didn't mean for it to go this far?" I shot back, my voice rising. "What part didn't you mean, Katie? The part where you lied to me and said you were out with friends? Or the part where you slept with someone else?" "I didn't sleep with him," she blurted out, a little too quickly. The lie came so fast it was almost impressive. I laughed, short and bitter. "Really? Because I don't believe AF. I caught myself. I don't believe you. Not one word of it." Katie started pacing, running her fingers through her hair, like she was searching for the right angle, the perfect twist to sell me on. "It was a mistake," she muttered, her voice breaking. "I was just so frustrated with everything, with you, with us. You don't even see how hard this has been for me. And there it was. Me, my fault." She turned it around, making it about how she was suffering. I could feel my pulse in my temples as I stared at her, trying to process how she had the audacity to make this about her. "So this is my fault?" I asked, keeping my voice as steady as I could. "Because I couldn't fix things between us fast enough? Because I had some issues in bed?" Katie stopped pacing, and for a moment, I thought she might actually admit it. But instead, she sighed, playing the victim as perfectly as ever. "You don't understand," she whispered. "I've been trying, Ethan. I've been trying to hold it together, but you've been so distant. And it's not just about that, it's everything. You've been pushing me away for months." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Pushing her away? I was the one who sat there night after night trying to talk to her, trying to figure out what was wrong. She was the one who brushed me off, told me I was too sensitive, or that I was overthinking things. And now she was standing here, blaming me for her screwing around with some guy? "You've got to be kidding me," I said through clenched teeth. "You think I'm distant? You've been sneaking around, lying to my face, and now you're going to sit here and tell me it's because of something I did." She didn't answer right away, just stood there, shaking, looking like she was about to crumble. I almost felt sorry for her again, almost fell for it. But then I remembered that kiss, the way she smiled at him like I never existed. "How long, Katie?" I asked quietly, the question slipping out before I could stop myself. "How long has this been going on?" Her face went pale. She didn't answer, didn't deny it. And that silence, that was all I needed. She had no excuse, no story to make it go away. "Ethan, she stammered, but I cut her off. "You're done," I said, stepping forward. "You're done lying. You're done twisting this around to make yourself the victim. I want the truth." "How long?" Katie looked down at the floor, her hands shaking. "A few months," she finally whispered, barely audible. "It started a few months ago." I felt my stomach drop. A few months. Months of coming home to her. Months of pretending everything was fine, while she was off with someone else. My hands balled into fists, but I forced myself to stay calm. Losing it now wouldn't fix anything. I needed to keep my head clear. "Get out," I said, my voice cold. "Ethan, please," she started, but I wasn't having it. "I said get out," I shouted, pointing to the door. "Go be with him if that's what you want. But don't stand here and pretend this is my fault. We're done." Katie's face crumpled. For a second, I thought she might fight back, argue, try to worm her way out of it. But instead, she nodded, defeated. She grabbed her purse, her shoulders slumped, and without another word, she left. The door clicked shut behind her, and just like that, the silence returned. But it wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The moment she left, I felt a strange sense of relief. For the first time in months, the house was quiet, and for once, I wasn't anxiously waiting for her to walk through the door. It was over, or at least it felt like it. I sat down on the couch, staring at the spot she had been standing just minutes ago. It was hard to believe how quickly everything had come crashing down. One night, just one, and it had all unraveled. I told myself I didn't care, that she was gone, and I was better off without her. I didn't need to hear any more lies, any more excuses. I had cut her out just like she had cut me out of her life for months. I ghosted her just as she ghosted me, emotionally. I thought it was fitting, but ghosting someone isn't as satisfying as it seems. After the anger wears off, there's just emptiness. The adrenaline that had been keeping me upright was fading, leaving me drained. I opened my phone and looked at the texts she'd sent earlier. All of them unread. Desperate, pleading messages. "Ethan, we need to talk. Please, just answer me. I'm sorry. I know I screwed up. Let's work through this. I miss you. Where are you?" Every message made my stomach twist. It was all so fake. She didn't miss me. She missed the control, the safety of knowing she had me wrapped around her finger while she lived a double life. The more I read, the angrier I got. But something deeper was lurking under that anger. Something I didn't want to admit yet. The sadness. The kind that creeps in once the rage burns out. The kind that reminds you that the person you loved just threw everything away like it was nothing. By the next evening, I hadn't responded to her once. And honestly, I didn't plan to. But life has a way of throwing curveballs at you, just when you think you're in control. It was around 7 p.m. when my phone buzzed again, and this time it wasn't a text. It was a call from her. I stared at the screen, watching her name light up. I almost ignored it. Almost. But curiosity got the better of me. I wanted to hear what she had to say this time. I answered, keeping my voice cold and distant. "What?" Her voice was a mess of tears and frantic breathing on the other end. "Ethan, please. I just need to see you. Just once. We need to talk face to face. I'm begging you." I stayed silent for a moment, listening to her sob. It was pathetic. Or maybe it would have been if part of me didn't still feel something for her. That was the worst part. After everything she'd done, I still cared. It was stupid, but it was true. "There's nothing to talk about," I finally said, my voice flat. "You made your choice, Katie. Now live with it." I know," she cried. "But I just need to explain. Please, Ethan." "I can't." She stopped, choking on her words, then blurted out something that caught me off guard. "I'll leave him. I'll cut him off. He meant nothing. I swear." I froze, trying to process what she was saying. Leave him? Now, suddenly, after months of sneaking around, she was ready to drop this guy like he was nothing? Was she serious? Or was this just another manipulation? Another move in her game? "You should have thought about that before you slept with him." I shot back, harsher than I intended. "It wasn't like that," she screamed through the phone, her voice cracking. "I'm sorry. You don't understand. It was a mistake. I was angry. I felt trapped. You don't know how hard it's been for me, how lonely I've been." I clenched my jaw. There it was again. The same old song and dance. It wasn't her fault. It was never her fault. Always someone else, always me. She was the victim in her mind, and I was the villain. "I don't care how hard it's been for you," I snapped, pacing the living room now. You didn't care how hard it's been for me. I was here, Katie. I was trying. But you just checked out. You didn't even try to work through it. You found someone else instead. That's not fair, she cried, her voice shaking. I didn't plan for it to happen. It wasn't supposed to go this far. It was just, I don't know. I was confused. He was just there. Like that somehow made it better. My hand tightened around the phone. So what, you think you can come back now? Forget it ever happened. I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. That's not how this works. There was silence on the other end, but I could still hear her breathing, shallow and erratic. When she finally spoke again, her voice was soft, almost pleading. Ethan, I love you. I made a mistake, but I love you. Don't throw this away because of one night. One night, I almost laughed again, the bitterness boiling up inside me. This wasn't about one night. This was about the months of lies, the betrayal, the gaslighting. It was about the fact that she had looked me in the eye every day and pretended everything was fine, all while sneaking around with someone else. How could she even say the words, I love you, with a straight face? You don't love me, I said quietly but firmly. You love the idea of me. You love the safety, the comfort. But if you really loved me, you wouldn't have done this. You wouldn't have looked at me like I didn't exist while you were off with him. Ethan, please, she whispered, but I couldn't listen to it anymore. We're done, I said, my voice final. Stop calling me. Stop texting me. Just stop. Before she could say anything else, I hung up and threw the phone on the couch. My hands were shaking, my heart pounding in my chest. The relief I felt when I first ghosted her was gone. Now all I felt was the weight of the reality crashing down. I was free, sure, but that freedom didn't feel as good as I thought it would. It felt hollow, like something had been ripped out of me and replaced with this unbearable void. I stood there in the empty living room, the silence ringing in my ears. This was the part no one talks about. The part where, even after you've made the right decision, you're still left standing in the wreckage, wondering if it could have been different. The next few days were a blur. I thought cutting her off would bring me peace, but it didn't. The ghosting was a temporary fix, like a bandage over a wound that was still festering underneath. I didn't hear from Katie again for a while, and honestly, I wasn't sure if that was a good thing or not. The house was too quiet, too empty. Every time I sat down, my mind would spiral back to what happened, to her excuses, her desperate cries over the phone. But just as I was starting to settle into the silence, convincing myself that I'd made the right decision, the universe decided to flip the script. It was late on a Friday night, one of those nights where you're just sitting in front of the TV, not really watching anything, but trying to drown out your thoughts. I was halfway through a beer when my phone buzzed on the coffee table. I glanced at it, expecting another random notification, but when I saw the name on the screen, my blood ran cold. It was him, the guy Katie had been with, Jason. At first, I thought it was some kind of sick joke. Why the hell would he be calling me? My immediate reaction was to toss the phone across the room, ignore it, and pretend it never happened. But the curiosity, the anger won out. I picked up. What the hell do you want? I growled, gripping the phone tighter than necessary. There was a pause on the other end, then a deep breath. Ethan, man. Listen, I know this is awkward as hell, but you need to hear me out. His voice was calm, almost too calm, like he was rehearsing some kind of twisted apology. I didn't want to hear it. You think I want to hear anything from you? I snapped. You slept with my wife, and now you're calling me like we're gonna chat about it? What, are you proud of yourself? It's not like that, Jason said quickly, sounding nervous. I'm not proud of anything. In fact, I didn't even know she was married when it started. Katie, she never told me about you. I froze. That wasn't what I expected to hear. She didn't tell you she was married? I asked, more confused than angry now. You're telling me you didn't know the whole time? I swear, he said. I didn't find out until a couple weeks ago. She'd been telling me she was in a complicated relationship, but she never mentioned you. When I figured it out, man, I was pissed too. I've been trying to cut it off, but she's been all over the place. It's like she can't let go of either of us. My mind was spinning. Katie had always been good at manipulation, but I didn't realize just how deep it went. She'd managed to string both of us along, lying to him just like she lied to me. "So why are you calling me now?" I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. "What do you want from me?" Jason sighed. "I'm not calling to make excuses. I think you should know something. Katie's been trying to come back to me too. She's been blowing up my phone, showing up at my place, saying she's ready to leave you, that she'll choose me. But I don't want any part of it anymore. I'm done. I don't want to be dragged into her mess." I stared at the floor, my mind racing. This was too much, too messy, too absurd. Katie was still trying to crawl back to him, even after all her crying, her pleading for forgiveness with me. "You're telling me she's still chasing you while trying to fix things with me?" I asked, my voice bitter. "Yeah," Jason admitted. "I thought you deserved to know, man. I'm sorry for everything. I really am. But Katie? She's playing both sides, and I don't think she's gonna stop. You should cut her off for good. She's toxic." Toxic. That word hit me hard. As much as I hated to admit it, Jason was right. Katie had become this chaotic force, wrecking everything in her path. And now, even the guy she was cheating with wanted nothing to do with her. "I'm done with her," I said after a moment, my voice low but firm. "And you should be too. Let her self-destruct on her own." "I already have," Jason said quietly. "Take care of yourself, Ethan. You don't need someone like her dragging you down." I hung up without saying anything else. My hands were shaking, my mind buzzing with everything I just learned. Katie wasn't just trying to salvage her marriage. She was trying to keep both of us, like we were some sort of sick backup plans for her twisted sense of stability. It made me sick. I sat there for a while, staring at the phone in disbelief. Every time I thought I had a handle on the situation, something new came out of the woodwork, something that made me realize just how deep her betrayal went. This wasn't just about cheating. It wasn't just about one mistake or one night. Katie was a liar, a manipulator, and I had been blind to it for far too long. The next morning, I woke up with a new sense of clarity. Jason's call had opened my eyes to something I hadn't fully accepted. Katie wasn't going to stop. She wasn't going to give up until she had me, or him, or both of us. She was that kind of person. She didn't know how to let go. She didn't care who she hurt, as long as she got what she wanted in the end. But this time, I wasn't going to let her win. I picked up my phone and texted her. The words blunt and final. "We're done. I'll be contacting a lawyer. Don't come back to the house. I don't want to see you again." No explanation, no room for argument. Just the truth. I hit send, blocked her number, and leaned back, feeling a strange sense of calm wash over me. It was like the weight of the past few months had finally lifted. The games were over, and this time I was in control. I thought cutting her off would be the end of it, that a clean break would finally give me the peace I needed. But I underestimated Katie. She wasn't the type to take no for an answer. That night, after I sent her the message, there was a brief moment of silence, like the eye of the storm. For the first time in weeks, I felt calm, thinking the worst was behind me. But I was wrong. The next day, I came home from work, expecting the house to be as quiet as I'd left it. Instead, the second I opened the front door, I heard it, her voice, Katie's voice, cutting through the silence like a knife. My heart dropped. She was inside. I stepped into the living room, and there she was, sitting on the couch like nothing had changed, like she still belonged there. She hadn't even bothered to knock, apparently using the spare key I forgot to take back. She looked up at me, her eyes wide and red-rimmed, tears already starting to well up as if on cue. The sight of her sitting there, pretending to cry, made my blood boil. "What the hell are you doing here, Katie?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm but failing miserably. She stood up quickly, rushing over to me like she was going to embrace me. "Ethan, please," she sobbed, reaching for my arm. "I've been thinking about everything, and I can't lose you. I know I messed up, but I can fix this. We can fix this." I yanked my arm away before she could touch me, taking a step back. "No," I said firmly. "You don't get to just show up here after everything you've done and act like we can go back to normal. We're over, Katie. I told you that." "But we're not over," she insisted, her voice frantic. "You're just angry, but I can fix it. I'll cut him off. I'll do whatever it takes. You just need to give me another chance." I love you, Ethan. I swear I do. I stared at her, barely able to contain my disbelief. How could she stand there, after everything I knew, and still try to convince me that she cared? That this wasn't just another game for her? You don't love me, I said coldly. You love having control. You love knowing that you can have me and him at the same time. But that's not love, Katie. That's manipulation. She shook her head violently, tears streaming down her face now. No, it's not like that. I made a mistake, okay? But it's you I want. It's always been you. I wanted to scream at her. I wanted to throw her out of the house right then and there. But instead, I just laughed. A bitter, hollow laugh that came from a place so deep I didn't even recognize it. Always been me? I echoed, shaking my head. You've been sleeping with another guy for months, Katie. You've been lying to me every single day. You don't get to say it's always been me. It didn't mean anything, she cried, her voice desperate. He didn't mean anything to me. I was confused. I didn't know what I was doing, but now I do. I'm ready to make it work. Please, Ethan, just don't throw this away. I clenched my fists trying to keep control. You threw it away the second you decided to cheat on me, I said, my voice tight. You don't get to come back now just because he doesn't want you either. I know about everything, Katie. You've been bouncing between us, trying to play both sides. You're not sorry. You're just scared of being alone. Her face twisted in shock, as if she hadn't expected me to know. She opened her mouth, probably to deny it, but I didn't give her the chance. Jason called me, I continued, watching her face drain of color. He told me everything, how you've been showing up at his place, begging him to take you back, while telling me you want to fix our marriage. You're not sorry for what you did. You're just sorry you got caught. For a split second, I saw something in her eyes. A flicker of guilt, maybe, or maybe it was just fear. She opened her mouth again, this time slower, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan, I didn't know how to handle everything. I'm sorry. I'll make it right. There's nothing to make right, I said, stepping toward the door and holding it open. You need to leave. Now, we're done. She stood there for a moment, just staring at me, as if waiting for me to change my mind, as if she still had some kind of power over me. But this time I was done, truly done. She wasn't going to talk her way out of this. Slowly, she wiped her face with the back of her hand, straightened her posture, and gave me this look, this cold, hard stare that made me realize I'd never really known her at all. The tears stopped, the trembling disappeared, the remorse vanished. Fine, she said, her voice cold and venomous. If this is what you want, then fine. But don't act like you're some innocent victim, Ethan. You've had your own problems, and you know it. You're not exactly a prize. I froze. There it was, the real Katie, the one who couldn't handle being caught, the one who always had to make sure she didn't walk away as the bad guy. Even now, with everything exposed, she had to tear me down on her way out. Get out, I said again, my voice calm but firm. She didn't say another word. She just grabbed her purse, walked out the door, and slammed it behind her. The silence that followed was suffocating. I stood there for what felt like hours, staring at the door, waiting for something, anything to happen. Maybe part of me expected her to come back, to start banging on the door, screaming. But she didn't. She was really gone this time. I sat down on the couch, my head spinning. The relief I thought I'd feel wasn't there. Instead, I felt empty, like the last piece of the life I thought I had was gone. I knew it was over, and I knew I'd done the right thing, but that didn't stop the hollow ache from settling in my chest. The worst part wasn't that she was gone. It was realizing that she had never really been there in the first place. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of my own breathing in an empty house. No more Katie. No more lies. It was quiet, too quiet. I sat up in bed, staring at the spot where she used to sleep, and for a moment, I felt the ache of it all. The kind of ache that doesn't go away easily, that sinks into your bones and makes you question everything. But as I lay there, I realized that the sadness was mixed with something else. Relief. She was gone. Really gone this time. No more games, no more pretending. I had survived the storm, and now I had to figure out what came next. By the time I got downstairs, I saw it. A message on the table, her handwriting. I had forgotten about the spare key she still had, but she must have snuck in and left it behind. The note was short, sharp, and dripping with bitterness. "You'll regret this. You could have fixed us, but you're too weak to try. Don't think you'll find better than me. You never deserved me anyway." I almost laughed reading it. It was so her, right to the end, twisting the knife, trying to make me feel like I was the problem, like she was doing me a favor by walking away. But the message didn't sting the way she wanted it to. In fact, it was just confirmation of what I already knew. Katie wasn't capable of owning up to her mistakes, and that note was her last attempt to make me doubt myself. I crumpled the note, tossed it in the trash, and made myself coffee. The day stretched out in front of me, a blank slate, and I had no idea what to do with it. I tried to focus on the small things. I cleaned the kitchen, did laundry, anything to keep my mind off the wreckage of the last few weeks. But as I folded shirts and scrubbed dishes, my mind kept drifting back to her, to the fights, the lies, and then to Jason's call. Jason. I couldn't shake the weirdness of that whole situation. The guy she cheated with had more decency than she did. At least he had come clean and told me the truth, something Katie never would have done. It made me wonder, was he just as blindsided by her as I was? Was he just another pawn in her messed up game? By noon, I had to get out of the house. Being surrounded by the memories of her, of us, was suffocating. I grabbed my keys and headed out for a drive. No destination in mind, just the need to clear my head. The streets were busy, but inside my car, it was just me and my thoughts. For the first time, I let myself feel the weight of what had happened. The betrayal, the months of lies, the anger, the pain. It all came rushing in at once, like a tidal wave, and I had no choice but to ride it out. I pulled into a random park and sat there for a while, watching people go about their lives. Couples holding hands, kids running around, people walking their dogs, normal stuff, the kind of life I thought I had. But now, it all seemed distant, like it belonged to someone else. I wasn't sad about losing her. I was sad about losing the life I thought we were building, the future I thought we had, the plans we'd made, trips, holidays, even stupid things like decorating the house for Christmas. All of it was gone, replaced with the reality that I'd been living a lie for months. It wasn't just Katie's betrayal that hurt. It was the realization that the person I thought I knew was never really there. She had been playing a role, pretending to be someone she wasn't, and I had fallen for it completely. I had trusted her, given her everything, and she had torn it apart without a second thought. But as I sat there, watching the world move on, I realized something else. This wasn't the end. It felt like it in the moment, but it wasn't. Life was still moving. I was still here, breathing, thinking, hurting. But I was also free. Free from her lies, free from the manipulation. And that was something. I started driving again. No real destination in mind, just letting the road take me where it wanted. After a while, I found myself pulling into the parking lot of a lawyer's office. It wasn't something I had planned, but I knew it was the right step. Inside, I was greeted by a middle-aged woman who looked like she'd seen 1,000 cases like mine. She didn't ask too many questions, just the necessary ones to get the ball rolling. Divorce. It sounded final, but it also sounded like closure, like the end of something toxic. We went over the details, the paperwork, the logistics of splitting everything. It felt clinical, emotionless, but that was probably for the best. The sooner I made it official, the sooner I could move on. By the time I left the office, the sun was starting to set, casting long shadows across the parking lot. I stood there for a moment, taking it all in. This was real. This was happening. I was officially moving on, and there was no turning back. On the drive home, something shifted in me. The sadness was still there, sure, but it wasn't as heavy anymore. There was space for something else now, hope maybe, or at least the possibility of it. When I got back to the house, I opened the door, stepped inside, and for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like the walls were closing in on me. The house felt different. Empty, yes, but in a way that was full of potential. I didn't have to live with her lies anymore. I didn't have to carry the weight of her betrayal. This was my space now. I sat down on the couch, feeling the weight of the day lift off my shoulders. It wasn't going to be easy. None of this was. But for the first time, I knew I was going to be okay. Katie could go live her life, play her games with someone else. But me, I was done. Done with her, done with the lies, and done letting her control my life. I didn't need her anymore, and that realization, that felt like the beginning of something new. The next few days passed in a strange, eerie calm. The kind of calm that feels fragile, like the quiet just before the sky cracks open with a storm. I'd filed for divorce, and as far as I was concerned, Katie was out of my life for good. She hadn't reached out again, not a text, not a call. Nothing. It was like she'd vanished, and for a moment I thought maybe she had finally accepted it was over. But deep down, I knew better. People like Katie don't disappear quietly. They retreat, regroup, and come back stronger, nastier. It was only a matter of time. It was a Tuesday morning when the first crack appeared. I had just gotten out of the shower when my phone buzzed with an email notification. I grabbed it, still dripping wet, expecting some spam or work update. Instead, it was from Katie. No subject line, just her name. I hesitated for a moment, my thumb hovering over the screen, debating whether or not to even open it. But curiosity won out and I clicked. The message was short, just 3 sentences, but the weight of them hit me like a punch to the gut. You want to play the victim, but you're not innocent either. Don't forget what I know about you. If you think this divorce is going to be easy, think again. My stomach churned. What the hell was she talking about? What did she think she knew about me? There was nothing to know, nothing I hadn't been open about. But the threat was clear, and it sent a ripple of anxiety through me. Katie wasn't just going to let this end. She was gearing up for a fight. I threw the phone down, my mind racing. This was classic Katie. She couldn't handle being the one who lost, the one who didn't get to walk away on her own terms. So now, she was trying to scare me, make me think there was some dirty secret she could use to turn things in her favor. But what secret? My mind reeled, searching for anything she could twist into her advantage, anything she might use to drag me through the mud. And then I remembered, there was something. A few years back, before all this chaos started, I had lent some money to a friend. It was nothing serious, just a small loan to help him out when he was struggling. But the thing was, I'd never told Katie about it. Not because I was hiding it, but because I knew how she was about money, always obsessed with control, always keeping track of every little thing. I didn't want the fight that would have come with it, so I kept it quiet. Now, I wondered if she had somehow found out. Maybe that's what she was holding over me. But even if it wasn't some huge scandal. It was a personal decision, and nothing that could really hurt me in court. Or at least, that's what I told myself. I tried to push the email out of my mind, but it gnawed at me all day. By the time evening rolled around, I was restless, pacing the house, my thoughts spiraling in a million directions. What was she planning? How far was she willing to go to drag me down with her? I needed to clear my head, so I decided to call Dave, my best friend and the only person who knew the full story. He answered on the second ring, his voice casual and calm, as if he'd been waiting for my call. "What's up, man? How's the post-Katie life treating you?" he asked, the humor in his voice trying to lighten the mood. "It was fine until today," I said, rubbing my temples. "She's starting up again. Sent me this weird email, threatening that she knows something about me. I don't know what she's talking about, but it's got me on edge." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "She sent you an email?" Dave asked, sounding more serious now. "What did she say?" I told him, repeating the message word for word, trying to keep my voice steady. Dave stayed quiet for a moment, and when he finally spoke, his tone had shifted. "Look, man, you know she's just messing with you, right?" he said. "She doesn't have anything on you. She's trying to make you panic. It's what she does. You've seen it before." I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "Yeah, I know, but it's the way she said it. She's not done with me, Dave. I can feel it. This isn't over. Not for her. She's a snake," he muttered. "But she can't hurt you if you don't let her. You've got the truth on your side. She can play dirty, but she can't make up lies that'll stick." "I hope you're right," I said, though part of me wasn't convinced. We talked for a while longer, mostly about meaningless stuff, work, sports, anything to take my mind off Katie. By the time we hung up, I felt a little calmer, but the tension was still there, lurking in the back of my mind. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my thoughts circling back to her words over and over again. Was she bluffing, trying to rattle me just to see if I'd flinch? Or did she really have something up her sleeve? I didn't know, And that's what scared me. Katie was unpredictable, and I had no idea what she might do next. The following morning, I decided it was time to stop playing defense. I wasn't going to sit around, waiting for her next move. I was done being reactive. It was time to protect myself. I called the lawyer I'd met with a few days earlier, laying out the situation in full. I told him about Katie's email, about the vague threat, about how I didn't know what she was planning but needed to be prepared. "She's bluffing," he said confidently. "But that doesn't mean we won't take precautions. We'll get ahead of this. If she tries anything, we'll be ready." I felt a sense of relief wash over me. For the first time in days, I felt like I was back in control, like I had a plan. Katie could send all the cryptic threats she wanted, but I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. I hung up the phone, feeling a strange mix of determination and exhaustion. This was the beginning of the real battle, the one I knew was coming. Katie wasn't going to let go easily, but I wasn't going to let her tear me down either. The calm was over. The storm was coming. And this time, I was ready for it. A week passed in a blur of preparations. Meetings with my lawyer, gathering documents, and double-checking every little thing that could be used against me. The tension between me and Katie simmered beneath the surface, like a ticking bomb that could go off at any moment. Every day, I waited for her next move, wondering what kind of game she was going to play next. Then it happened. One evening, just as I was starting to think maybe I'd overestimated her, I got the email. This time, it wasn't just a vague threat. It was a full-on declaration of war. Subject line, "You've left me no choice." I opened it, my stomach knotting as I scrolled through the message. "Ethan, since you've decided to make this so difficult, I'll have to make sure the truth comes out. You've always pretended to be the good guy, but let's not forget about your little loan to Dave. I know all about the money you've been hiding from me. You think you're going to walk away clean, but trust me, once I tell the court how you've been hiding finances, you won't be looking so innocent anymore. I'll drag this divorce out for as long as it takes. You're going to regret ever trying to leave me." My heart sank. She knew. Somehow, she'd found out about the loan to Dave, the one thing I thought she'd never uncover. And now she was planning to use it to paint me as some kind of secretive, dishonest husband. It wasn't a huge amount of money, but it was enough to make things messy if she framed it the right way. The worst part? She could drag this out. She had the kind of manipulative energy that thrived on conflict. The more chaotic things got, the more in control she felt. And now, she was going to turn this divorce into a war zone. I slammed my laptop shut, pacing the room, my mind racing with frustration. The walls felt like they were closing in on me, like I was trapped in a game I didn't want to play. I had no idea how far she was willing to go, but I knew she wasn't bluffing anymore. She was serious. She wanted to make this hurt. I grabbed my phone and called Dave, barely waiting for him to pick up. "Dave, we've got a problem," I said as soon as he answered. "What's going on?" he asked, sounding confused. "Katie knows about the loan," I said, running a hand through my hair. "She's threatening to use it in court, make it look like I've been hiding money from her." There was a pause. Then Dave let out a long sigh. "Damn, man. I didn't think she'd stoop that low, but I should have known. Look, she can't use that against you. The money wasn't hidden, it was a personal loan between friends. It's not like you were stashing it away somewhere secret." "Yeah, but you know how she is," I said, my voice tight. "She's going to twist it, make it sound like I was being deceitful. And the longer this drags on, the worse it's going to get." "Then don't let it drag on," Dave said firmly. "You need to end this, Ethan. Fast. She's trying to rattle you, make you lose your footing. But if you stand your ground, she'll burn herself out." He was right. Katie was banking on me panicking, on me spiraling into fear and doubt. But I wasn't going to give her that satisfaction. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I had to stay calm. I had to stay focused. The next morning, I met with my lawyer again, laying everything out on the table, the loan, the emails, the threats. He was calm, almost indifferent to it all, like he'd seen 1,000 Katies before. "She's trying to intimidate you," he said, leaning back in his chair. "But we can handle this. The loan isn't a secret, it's not even marital property. It won't hold up in court." I nodded, feeling a small sense of relief, but the tension was still there. What if she keeps pushing? What if she drags this out for months, trying to make me cave? I asked. My lawyer gave a small, reassuring smile. Then we drag her down with us. We've already filed for divorce, and we're on solid ground. The longer she plays these games, the worse she'll look in front of a judge. We'll keep everything clean, keep it professional. If she wants a fight, let her have one. But she won't win. His confidence was contagious. For the first time since this nightmare started, I felt like maybe, just maybe, I could come out of this with my life intact. But of course, Katie wasn't going to go down without a final strike. A few days later, I came home to find an envelope stuck in my front door. It wasn't from the court, wasn't anything official. It was from Katie. I opened it, feeling that familiar dread creeping up my spine. Inside was a single piece of paper with a few printed photos clipped to it. The photos were of me, out with Dave having drinks. One of us was laughing, and the other looked like we were deep in conversation. At first, it didn't make sense. Why would she send me these? Then, I saw the note scribbled on the back. Drinking your troubles away while we're still married. This won't look good in court, will it? Don't forget, I can make you look just as bad as you're trying to make me. Keep playing, Ethan. I'm ready for it. It was such a petty, desperate move. Photos of me and my friend, trying to make it seem like I was some careless guy neglecting my responsibilities. But it was enough to remind me of what I was dealing with. Someone who wouldn't stop until she'd completely torn me down. But something inside me had shifted. The fear, the anxiety, it wasn't as strong anymore. She was flailing, trying to find anything to grab onto, and it was starting to show. She was losing her grip on me, and she knew it. That night, I went to bed without responding. No angry texts, no phone calls. I wasn't going to play her game anymore. If she wanted to keep sending threats, let her. I had the truth on my side, and more importantly, I had the strength to finally see this through. The next few weeks were brutal. Katie's lawyer tried to drag out every little detail, tried to paint me as a neglectful husband, tried to make it seem like I was hiding things. But my lawyer was prepared for it all, shutting down every accusation, every piece of false evidence she tried to bring up. The final court date came quicker than I expected. Katie sat across from me, cold and calculating, but there was a hint of desperation in her eyes. She knew she'd lost. The judge saw through her tactics, ruling in my favor. The divorce was finalized, clean and swift, just as my lawyer had promised. As I left the courthouse, I felt the weight of it all finally lift. It was over, really, truly over. Katie was out of my life, and she couldn't touch me anymore. I drove home, the sun setting on the horizon, and for the first time in months, I felt at peace. The storm had passed, and I was still standing, stronger than before. I had my life back, and Katie, she was just a chapter I'd finally closed.